It says in Romans, the first chapter, the 20th verse, it says, "For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made." What does that mean? That means God is invisible. Okay, we can't see him with our eyes. We can see him with our heart, though. You understand? He is invisible. We can see attributes of God by the things that he made. For example, in the Bible, uh, it says in chapter 12 of the book of Job, Job is speaking, he says, "But ask now the animals, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, they shall teach thee." They should teach you of what? They shall teach you of God. And if you fast forward into the 40th chapter of the book of Job, this is when God is speaking to Job. He was telling him about the behemoth. Now, the behemoth would have been a large animal. There's a lot of question of what the behemoth was, but I guarantee you it was a big animal. Some believe it was a hippopotamus, some believe it was an elephant, maybe a mammoth. It could have been an animal that was around and then it died off years later. To me, it probably was most likely an elephant. That's just my opinion. But he goes on to tell him in the 40th chapter, he says, he goes on to explain how big the behemoth is. And in the 40th chapter, in the 19th verse, he says, "He is in the chief of the ways of God." So he's talking about how animals, some animals uh, have characteristics of God. In other words, this is a big animal, that God is big, that the ways of this animal are very similar to the ways of God. Jesus is called the Lamb. He was the lamb that was slaughtered. The lamb that was became the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, and he's also referred to it as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So when we're describing God, there's many animals that are used to describe God. Of course, the behemoth was to describe parts of God, attributes of God. Okay, if you fast forward now into the book of Job, the 41st chapter, the 31st verse, this is a beautiful gem in the Bible. You have to listen very closely to this. Okay, I just came across this a few months ago when I was doing an in-depth study of the book of Job. It says, he's talking about the Leviathan. Now, the Leviathan, in my opinion, was a whale, of course. Uh, he talks about, he's making a comparison between the whale and God himself, and how big the whale is, how man can't really conquer the whale back then, how he laughs at man's inventions back then. This is thousands of years ago. Uh, that you can't fight the whale, that he's too big for man, and many characteristics of God were compared to the whale, that he's just too big to take on. He was trying to gently explain to Job that he was a God and you are a man, that my judgment is and my ways are much higher than your ways as a man. Do you understand? He was trying to gently explain to Job to see the error of his ways. But so he was comparing a Leviathan, a whale, to himself. Okay. And like I said, in the 31st verse, he's explaining the Leviathan, the whale. He says, "He maketh the deep to boil like a pot." Okay. And the Lord explained to me what that meant. You ever see when somebody boils water on a stove or over a fire, it begins to make bubbles, and they rise to the top. It boils like a pot, these air bubbles. Okay. Now, if you look at the 32nd verse, it says, "He maketh a path to shine after him." What does that mean? Well, when a whale jumps up out of the water and dives back in, he makes a whole bunch of bubbles, like a boiling pot. All the bubbles come to the surface. And when the sun is out, the tail of the whale goes down into the deep, dark blue ocean, all those bubbles reflect off the sun. They start to twinkle because of the sun. And it says here, he maketh a path to shine after him. So literally, if you were to observe a whale diving into the ocean, he stirs up a lot of the ocean water and it makes a lot of bubbles like a boiling pot, a pot of boiling water. And as he's going down deep into the ocean, into the darkness of the ocean, those bubbles begin to twinkle because of the sun. The sunlight is, beating down on the bubbles and they twinkle. And it makes like this twinkling path that the tail makes as this whale is going down into the deep darkness of the ocean. So that's what it says. He maketh a path to shine after him. So like I said, I'll say it one more time. So when the whale dives into the deep blue darkness of the ocean, his tail and everything makes these bubbles, which look like a boiling pot of water, which makes this beautiful path of twinkling bubbles, which makes that path after him. And what does that mean spiritually? Well, Jesus is God too. See, Jesus is the light of the world. He makes a path after him. For those who follow Jesus, you're following the light of the world in this dark world. And that's a beautiful gem, a beautiful, beautiful gem hidden in the Holy Bible. He makes a path to shine after him. For those who follow Jesus Christ, you're following the light of the world. He lights up the dark path. Do you understand? To follow Christ is to follow what? To follow the truth. Jesus Christ is the truth, the way, and the life. Do you understand? Jesus Christ is the truth. So what does it mean to follow Christ? It means to follow the truth. Okay? Jesus Christ is within you if you're a Christian. If you ask Jesus in your heart, he dwells within you. He's not in the world. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It's not in the world. The truth is within you. If you have Christ within you, the truth is now within you, and you follow the truth within you. Do you understand? To follow Christ is to follow the truth within you. Do you understand? This is a spiritually dark world. Jesus is truly the light of the world. To follow Jesus is to follow the light of the world, to follow the truth within you. Do you see what I'm saying here? It's a beautiful, beautiful truth. Do you understand? Ask Jesus Christ, the light of the world, into your heart, and you'll truly have the light of the world within you, and then follow the truth that's within your heart. You understand? He maketh a path to shine after him.